The radar core kit includes 6 components. It includes the Adrenalin DR. This is the recording engine that we've worked so hard on over the years and brewed and stewed. This is the Trinity chip that contains tons of intellectual property, includes all our crossfaders and our digital phase lock loop. This includes our low-level jitter algorithms and low latency routing and meter calculations so that you get really high quality meters on the front panel of the Radar Studio. And it includes an interface that connects to all the other boards in the system. So that's the Adrenalin DR recording engine, absolute key part of the Radar core kit. We used to sell the Adrenalin DR core kit upgrade, just this board. We used to sell for $39.95. We're selling the entire core kit, the Adrenalin, the interface cards, the Sync.io board, the analog power supply, and the boot drive for only $19.95. So it's a real deal to get all of this radar technology in one nice package for under $2,000. So we've got the Adrenalin DR with Trinity chip. We've got the Sync.io board, which gives us word clock in and out, video sync in and out, AES 2-channel digital I/O and sync, SPDIF 2-channel digital I/O and sync, MIDI in, out, and through, SMPTE in and out. Now this board is an I/O and signal conditioning board. It does not do MIDI and SMPTE processing. That's done on the Sync processor card, which is another optional card. The Sync.io board contains all of the required components that to take in your various sync sources and output sync and maintain that really low jitter clocks and digital I/O that we're looking for. The other cards that you're going to see in the Radar core kit are the SIC0 or SIC0, and the SIC0 has, as you can see, interface connectors. It's a top plane, as you'll see as we install it here in a minute. These interface connectors connect all of the cards that plug into the motherboard, plus the converters which plug into these 3 slots and interconnect the entire system. Very critical part. All of the digital I/O lines on the SIC0 are very carefully designed for low jitter, including balanced clock lines using microstrip technology. Everything is impedance matched all the way through, so there's no reflected waves and no jitter induction at all inside the Radar Studio frame. Then we've got our SIC0, which you'll see where that goes in a couple of minutes when we install it. And this connects all your digital I/O boards and your Sync.io board. Extremely important piece of technology, very small but absolutely critical, is our analog power supply. The analog power supply produces plus and minus 18 volts. The plus 18 is the orange and the minus 18 is the blue. This plus and minus 18 volt supply is extremely low noise, very low ripple, high common mode rejection ratio, very, very stable power supply that provides the DC voltages for the IS converters. A big part of our sound is the quality of this power supply, because if the power rails to the analog cards are not absolutely clean, then you're going to get artifacts in your audio, which obviously is unwanted. And then last but not least is our radar mode system drive. This contains our proprietary IS operating system and the radar software application, and of course all of the drivers and things that are necessary to run radar. So this is a necessary component. And this ensures that when you're switching between radar mode and workstation mode, they are completely separate systems. We don't want anything to mess up your radar recordings, so we don't want people having all kinds of plugins and things running on the workstation side and then have radar getting messed up. So we keep them completely separate systems, separate boot drives, and it works extremely well together. the files that are recorded in Radar are kept internal on the system drive, and so it's very simple when you switch to workstation mode to get those files into your application software on the workstation side, whether it's Pro Tools or Nuendo or whatever it is. It's very simple to get the files over because they're already on the system drive and in the system. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to install all these items. The first thing you're going to notice is that there's a blank cover plate that covers the entire back section. There's also a cover plate that covers where the Adrenalin board goes. I've already removed that. So I'm just going to show you how to remove the cover plate. So it's just 4 screws. And then we can remove that whole back cover plate. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the Sync.io board. Okay, so it's very simple to install. You just bring it in from the top, you tilt it down so that the AES input latch comes up into the hole like that. And then we get our small Phillips screws. So there's 2 screws per XLR connector, and there's 1 screw for the SPDIF connector, and then another 2 screws for each of the XLR connectors for SMPTE. Okay, so now I've installed my Sync.io board. Next card I'm going to install is the Adrenalin DR. This just plugs into the 3rd slot into that PCI connector, like that. And we're going to install the slot screw. Make sure that screw doesn't fall inside the chassis. Next, we're going to install the SIC0, System Interface Card 0, and that just fits right on here. Now, if we were going to install IS converters at this moment, we would install them over here. So this is an Ultra Nyquist card. We would just remove these 2 cover plates, install this card from the back, and then this card would plug into the top of the SIC0, just like this. Okay? But we're not going to install that at this moment. We're just going to show you the core kit. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and install my SIC0. And that's going to plug in just like this. That's that simple. Then we're going to go over to our SIC1. And we're going to take this and install that. This is going to connect on the dark connector here into the SIC0, and then the connector immediately below it is going to go into the Sync.io board. If you were to install an AES card or an ADAT board or a TDIF board down in these 2 slots, they would plug into these 2 connectors. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We just make sure the board edges are in the corners of the connector, slide it on, push, make sure it's secure, and it's on. The last board we need to install is the analog power supply. Now, I've already installed it here because it's a little bit more difficult to put in, but it's 4 screws, and these 4 screws, as you can see over here, just attach 1, 2, 3, and 4. This has to be installed with the bay of gigs removed, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. It's just a little easier for me to do this video without having to do that, but it is quite simple to install. So once you've installed your analog supply, then you're left with the analog supply connector, which plugs right on top of the 6.0 and provides the plus and minus 18 volt feed to your analog cards. The last thing we're going to install is the radar mode drive. And so the radar mode drive just sits right on top of your Windows drive. So now you've got two system drives. You've got your Windows drive and your radar mode drive. We put two screws in the side here. We plug in, well actually we'll plug in the SATA power first because it's easier. And then we're going to plug in our SATA data. And the cables are already here. You don't have to install the cables, they're already here and connected in the right spots. And then fasten two screws in, put the lid on, and you now have a Radar Studio frame with core kit installed. If you're not going to install digital I/O boards in these two slots, then you're going to want to go and install the provided cover plates in the back. They come in from behind, and then also the little plugs that cover up the TDIF holes. They go in there like that, and then you've got all your plates in the back panel and your cover plates where your analog cards go.